welcome to your Messages from the Stars Pick a Card reading. I am Maggie and my channel name is Tessellated Cosmos. I am very, very happy to have you here today. Today we will be asking these different energies that occur in astrological natal birth charts, what message they have for you today. So we have three groups for you. We have group 1, which is Vesta, and it speaks about the hearth and home. It is an asteroid for those of you who don't know where that would show up in your chart. And if you feel more comfortable choosing by crystals, we have this beautiful brown tiger's eye. Apologies if that's blurry. Group 2 has dignified, and that is about strength and what your strengths are. And if you prefer choosing by crystals, we have this attempt to make this beautiful, I want to say it's green tiger's eye. Come into there we go, green tiger's eye. And then for group 3 we have Neptune, which speaks about vision and in particularly our higher vision. And for that we have this lovely I want to say it's some sort of fire quartz, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm completely honest. It's just really pretty and I love it. And that is group 3. So I invite you to take a moment to breathe with me, to take a deep breath in. And then let it out. Choose in whatever way feels good for you. If that's crystals, then choose a crystal. If you feel drawn to a number on the card or imagery or just one of these concepts more than the other, please feel free to choose your card that way. And I look forward to seeing you in your reading. Bye. Hello everyone and welcome to group 1. If you chose Vesta or this tiger's eye crystal, this reading is for you. And we will be looking to see what information Vesta would like to bring to you today and how we can best incorporate that in our life. So Vesta is an asteroid that talks about, hearth and home. And when I think about that, I really think about the small things we do every day to keep the flame of our hearth going. So it's not about this raging wildfire of passion, but it's this like little fire in our hearth that we have to tend to keep lit. And so I think Vesta is coming through wanting to talk to us about how we can keep the passion for the small things alive. I'm sorry, my cat is off camera trying to knock over my water bottle. So anyways, I'm gonna pull some cards to see how we can keep this internal passion alive and well and going, and how we can keep it from turning into a roaring wildfire or cold embers. So we are getting the High Priestess, the Queen of Cups, and Death. So for me, this is talking about really, really trusting your intuition, feeling your feelings, and allowing yourself to transform. And so the High Priestess, of course, talks about our intuition. So this is saying that if there is something you feel passionate about and your soul is calling you to do it, if you are not doing it because a soul's calling is our intuition and it's our way of saying, hey, this is what lights me up and this is what will keep my fire going. If you are not following those intuitions, in a way you're almost dousing that fire. And so Vesta is here to say, please follow those intuitive nudges because they build momentum. The more you follow your actual intuition, the more you feel like you're emotionally fulfilled, like this Queen of Cups. So when you allow yourself to follow those intuitive nudges and build that momentum, you will feel emotionally fulfilled, and then you will even feel more safe feeling your feelings, because when you kind of have like this upward trend and you're noticing this upward trend even with ups and downs, it's easier to feel those emotions because you can know that just because I might be feeling angry or frustrated or sticky right now doesn't mean that this is going to last forever. And it allows you to feel much more secure and grounded, because like this Queen of Cups here she's on the ground, but she's still partially in the water. She is grounded and feeling and part of the waves as well. And so then the Death card is asking you to allow yourself to transform and let go of the things that don't serve you, right? So is, not listening to your intuition, is that actually serving you? And if you say yes, honestly, that's really good, because that's really honest to how you're feeling. Because sometimes it can feel like not listening to our intuition is good for us, because, there are all these circumstances that will try to tell us, like, if you listen to your intuition, you're gonna crash and burn and go up in flames, right? Because that is unfortunately the way that our world is currently structured. And so what I would invite you to do, if you feel comfortable, is to allow yourself to at least dream beyond what you think is possible. Because if you are holding yourself back even in your dreams, then you're definitely holding yourself back in your reality. And this isn't a bad thing. This doesn't make you a failure or a bad person. It's just something that, like, I like to be aware of for myself when I'm doing. And I like to help other people kind of come into awareness of this, right? So that is what Vesta is coming in to tell us to do on a bit more of a practical level, is to tell us that, we need to be following our intuition and being in our emotions and allowing ourselves to change. Now I want to pull some cards that are a little bit more on the spiritual and abstract side of things. So I'm using Rebecca Campbell's Starseed Oracle, and I don't know how to pronounce this word. It looks like Hiraeth. I'm not sure, but it says longing for home and homesick for the stars. So this is reiterating a bit that High Priestess energy of you are longing for your true self, for your highest self and the highest you that you can be. And I like to, use the cosmos, the stars, as a way of talking about the universe as well. So if you're feeling homesick for the stars, you're feeling homesick for that source energy and allowing that source energy to flow through you, to allow the energy of all that is to flow through you in a very intuitive manner. Now, I want to remind you again that there is a message of staying grounded because, you know, flying up in the stars is all well and good, and I love to do it just as much as the next person. And like a tree, if a tree tries to grow very, very, very tall without having roots just as deep to anchor it in, then it can't, like, it'll just topple over, right? So this is reminding you to go back with inside yourself and look at what really, really makes your heart sing, because that is what will keep the hearth lit. Now, I'd like to pull a few more, I guess we'll take those, advice cards. So you decide how you experience your story. This is reminding us that, you know, we just kind of experience things. And at the end of the day, we're the ones who make the story of what the experience is. So I like to say that, because for a long time I struggled with the everything happens for a reason saying, because at the time I was just very much like, there's no reason some of the things that have happened in my life should have happened. But then I kind of came to this more neutral conclusion of things just happen and we make the reason. As humans, our brains are meaning-making machines. So we create the reason when something has happened, often in retrospect. So if something bad has happened, or something that you feel like is bad, has happened, you get to make the meaning and the reason behind that and choose how you experience it from here on out. You get to choose the story that you tell about it. And that is really perfect for keeping your passions alive, because honestly, a lot of times we keep ourselves from following our intuition because we have these stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and what we can or can't do. And then we get all muddled and mixed up about it. And so when we're deciding the experience that we want, we're keeping that hearth lit. Again, earth energy, grounding. I also want to point out that earth is in hearth. It's just without the H. So what I'm getting from that is earth plus heart, or grounding plus your heart, is hearth. So because, you know, you have, if this were hearth, it would have the H, right? So you have heart and then earth. So that to me is what this is talking about. Sorry, I'm just noticing all the ways you can play around with the letters in heart and earth. So this is a reminder to stay grounded. Now we have, you are your own best partner. Treat yourself like it. This is talking about, we often expect other people, or not even expect, but we want other people to keep our fires lit for us. We want other people to create that feeling of passion and warmth within us. However, we have to start with ourselves first, and it's an inside job first. So this is just a reminder to treat yourself that way first, because you set the example for how other people treat you. Now, the last card that fell out when I was shuffling earlier is Galactic Family. So this is going back to that homesickness for the stars. And I do think if you're someone who works with extraterrestrial energy at all, or someone who relates to the term Starseed, this reading is really also encouraging you to connect back to those origins or those energies that you feel that you resonate most with. So if you're someone who resonates with Pleiades, Sirius, Arcturus, whatever it may be, or even if you don't know specifically what you resonate, but you've always felt a little bit of that pull towards the concept of starseeds, maybe this is your call to look into it a little bit more and really find what does resonate for you, or do some meditations on calling in your galactic family. Now, the last two cards I want to pull are an animal spirit oracle card, so that we can kind of have a little bit of like an animal guardian or synchronicity that they'll give us a message, and also so that if we see them in the upcoming days and weeks, we know that this message is coming back in. This energy of this message is kind of nudging us a little bit as a reminder that, you know, we need to be treating ourselves really well and following our intuition, right? So the card that came out for this is Eagle. Eagle speaks of seeing from a higher perspective, seeing from, you know, higher than really any other bird flies. And it also speaks to self-dignity and self-awareness. And so when we see eagles in the coming days and weeks, I want you to remember that you can follow your intuition, that you can allow yourself to take a step back if you're feeling particularly emotional, and ground yourself, especially to the energies of the earth. Because when you ground yourself into the earth, you can soar more among the stars. And the last card here that I want to pull is a nice little witchy cat message. And it says witchy cats, but if you don't resonate with the idea of being a witch, then these are just really nice little messages to kind of encourage and remind us to feel good, right? So here's the card that we pulled today. And it says, Celebration. Meet Pixie Puff. She is the princess of parties, the empress of extravaganzas, and the fairy of festivals. She raises an effervescent glass of rainbows. She bounces, prances, and dances with her friends. She celebrates the sun rising and the full moon shining. She praises your performances, your creations, your achievements, and she delights in the simple yet wondrous gift of your existence. You are worthy of celebration. Invite Pixie Puff into your heart and infuse your day with rainbows, congratulations, smiles, and festivity. And this to me feels like a good reminder to, when we follow our intuition and do the things that light us up and sustain us, it gives us room to be able to have those celebratory moments. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. And if eagles start showing up for you this week, please leave it in the comments below. Come back and let me know, because I'd love to hear about that. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Hello, hello. If you chose group 2 and dignified, this card is for you. This is also the green tiger's eye message. And so we will be pulling some cards to see what the concept of dignified and strength wants to talk to you about. So when a planet is dignified in a chart, it means that the planet is in a sign where it feels very comfortable and very much like very capable of doing its job properly. So I'm going to pull some cards to see where you feel very comfortable doing things, where you feel very comfortable and almost dignified, right? Okay. So this is very interesting because for all these groups, I'm kind of letting come through what really needs to come through. So the biggest thing that I'm seeing is you're someone who is very, very intuitive and very loving. And you're very, very good at using that love and intuition to, I guess, to do what's right, to do what you feel is right, okay? So the moon obviously talks about things that are hidden, things that we can't really see. So you might be someone who's very good at shadow work as well. And the Two of Cups talks about reciprocal emotional give and take. And the Seven of Wands, for me, is a card that I look at and I think of, what passions am I willing to fight for? And that is why I said that you're someone who is perhaps very good at championing other people and fighting for the things that are right and the things that you love. Because you're someone who probably sees the things that feel hidden, sees the things that most people can't see. And even here on this card, there's a lighthouse in the background of, you may tend to lead by example. You may tend to be the person who's willing to be weird so that other people can feel safe being weird, to, give to people and fill into their cup, because you know that it will come back to you, if not through the same person, then definitely in some way, right? It always comes back around. And, you're very, very willing to be like, to stand for what feels right to you, to stand for the truth, because you can see the truth in a way that maybe not a lot of people can, okay? So I think that's a really, really wonderful thing to be able to do something like that, because it can be very scary to speak the truth, to say the thing that other people can't see, because oftentimes a lot of people may not feel like they even want to see the truth, right? So I'm gonna pull another card to kind of see what some of your strengths are. Right. So this is Star Keeper. Cosmic Ancestor, seed the light by staying grounded. So this is reminding you that you're probably very much someone who is very good at being in multi dimensions at once, at kind of pulling from different realities and seeing the real truth of how things work. And this is also reminding you that you shine your light best and easiest when you ground yourself into reality in a way that almost feels accessible or relatable to other people. So while it's very important to speak about things that perhaps other people don't see or can't see, it's reaching out to them in a way that, because if someone is in a very fearful place or they're operating mainly from fear, and that's not a bad thing, they're going to perhaps, like, when cognitive dissonance is introduced, it can feel a little bit scary because, you know, you're already scared, and then you're being told that your reality isn't the way you think it is, or things don't work the way you think they do. And because so many people have so much shame and would rather not see the things that are presented to them, it's most helpful to do this in a way, to present this information in a way that is very loving and very compassionate. And in some ways, that can almost be grounded in proof and what we've decided on consensus 3D reality to be. Because I know for me, especially, and like, I've always been into this stuff, but there were always some concepts that just felt like very out there to me in the past. And it was the people who presented it to me in a very gentle, like, well, you know, what if you just kind of explored this kind of way, or found ways to ground it into the systems that I knew and understood at the time, which for me was much more based in psychology and things like that, and kind of find a way that, you know, there's almost proof for what they were saying. Those were the people that helped me expand my mind the most and the most quickly, because I was able to feel grounded and not like I had no handhold or foothold and like I was just floating. So it felt safer to listen to the truth. And so this card is asking you to remember that when, you know, you're giving information that might feel a bit out there for the general population, to do so in a way that's very, that they can relate to. So I'm going to pull a couple more cards for a little bit of advice to see how you can really make these strengths shine even brighter in this world, and maybe how you can more practically apply them. So this is etheric body. So when we're talking about the different bodies, mental, physical, emotional, etheric, and that's what I have in this deck that I made. This is reminding you to check in with what's going on in your etheric body, because I feel like we often do check in, especially with our physical body, because, you know, it's right there in our face all the time, and as well as our emotional body, like we can clearly tell if we're distressed or anxious. And even with our mental body, like we know when we're overthinking. But, you know, our etheric body, that non-physical body that connects our physical body to the great unknown, or the great known that we've forgotten, we sometimes forget to check in with that. Or if you are someone who is always checking in with your etheric body and not your physical body, this is a reminder to check in with your physical body. Are you thirsty? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Are you hungry? take care of yourself because we are houseplants with more complicated emotions, as one of my friends used to say to me. The next piece of advice is to take the long way home and enjoy the ride. So if you've been feeling maybe overwhelmed lately with the way everything has been lately, which honestly, I don't blame you, or if you feel like stuck, this is a reminder to take the long way home, maybe take a different way home, and enjoy the ride on the way and be present with what is happening so that you can be more grounded. Now, all that being said, and I did say, to apply things in as grounded a way as possible, sometimes we do just need to say the weird things. Sometimes it is by being confronted with things that feel very outside of our wheelhouse that we do expand as well. And this is also what will magnetize like people to you or similar people to you, right? Well, I think it is important to put things in a grounded manner and in a way that feels accessible to people who might be a little bit more on the fearful side. It's also important to say the weird thing and let people know that you are that lighthouse of this mystical, magical energy and information, right? So it's about discernment with that, and you can generally tell, honestly, by saying the weird thing. Like, people will kind of look at you sideways if they're a little bit more, fearful of being their authentic selves. And so you know that, okay, maybe this is a person who I approach in a more grounded way. And if you say the weird thing and they kind of light up or like they're a little bit curious, you can continue to say weird things and find where their threshold is. And this for me is a really fun game that I like to do because it helps me kind of see where other people are at, and it also helps me to allow them the opportunity to stretch into something more expansive if they so choose. And then the final card we have for this advice is the heart. This is a reminder, and I don't think you personally need this, but I think it's always nice to hear and have reiterated that we are beings of unconditional love. We operate best when we're acting from that space. And again, to have compassion for others, and most importantly, have compassion for yourself because you deserve it. Especially, I have like phlegm going in my throat, so you might actually at times struggle with loving yourself when you say the weird thing, or having compassion for yourself when you say the weird thing. I know some people feel like if they don't fit in, like the world is gonna end or like they might die. Not physically, but it can feel very, very scary, right? To stand out, especially when you feel weird or like you're used to feeling weird. And I was actually pulling our animal card to see what animal we can look at in the coming days and weeks that will serve as a little bit of a reminder of this message. And I pulled the zebra. And for me, whenever I see a zebra, I particularly think of, chronic illness and like people who are outside the norm in kind of an unexpected way because of the phrase, when you hear hoofbeats, you naturally think a horse, not a zebra. And so this card is reminding you to allow yourself to be that weird self, to kind of be a little bit unexpected in a lot of ways. And if you are someone, and I think it's people with Ehlers-Danlos in particular who use zebra stripes as like a symbol. So if you're someone who has Ehlers-Danlos or is hypermobile, this reading may particularly apply for you. And this is just a reminder that you are loved and worthy of being loved. And if you see this zebra or any zebras anywhere in the upcoming weeks, really, please come back and let me know, because I'd love to see how this energy of this reading shows up for you as you're going through your day-to-day life. Now, the last card that I want to pull is from this cat oracle deck, and it will kind of give us a little bit of an affirmation and a reminder on how to take care of ourselves and how to feel uplifted, right? So this is the card I pulled. It says Sleep Sanctuary. Meet Lullaby. She holds sleep sacred, for it profoundly restores our bodies and minds each night. She creates the coziest of nests, misting air with lavender, dimming the lights, tucking away all reminders of the frenetic energy of the day. She stretches her arms and legs before tiptoeing in mindful circles and curling up in a spiral of softness. She envisions waking up gently in the morning, refreshed and renewed. She asks for sweet dreams and a cocoon of safety before her eyes flutter shut and she drifts off, floating down the starry stream of night. So this is a reminder that if you are someone who is often taking care of others and someone who is often, in that Seven of Wands, fighting for love and championing people who may not be able to do so as well for themselves, this is a reminder that you need to rest to be able to restore. And maybe it's not sleep for you if you're someone who doesn't particularly like sleep or settling down very much. Rest can be anything that fills your cup, anything that makes you feel as if your cup is full, because like with that Two of Cups, when we are pouring from our cup into others, it needs to be from the overflow of what we have, not from the base of everything that we deserve on a regular day-to-day basis. Thank you so much for being here, for listening to this reading. I love you so much, and I look forward in seeing you in the next one. Bye! Hello everyone. If you chose group 3 and this fire quartz of some sort, this reading is for you. Today we have the card Neptune, and my nails apparently match it. Actually, I realized my nails kind of match all of the decks that I'm using today. And it's funny because Neptune speaks about vision, and I'm talking about visual things like color. I didn't do that on purpose, if I'm being completely honest. So anyways, today we are seeing what Neptune as a planet has to say to you in the form of a message today. So when I think about Neptune, I think about vision, yes, but like your inner vision, so like things like clairvoyance, your higher vision, the vision that your soul has for your life. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about that, because I'm really trying to let things come through as they want to. Now, I pulled the Queen of Wands and the Five of Wands together. and I kind of like that. And then death, the collective really seems to be going through a big shift right now. And then justice. So this particular reading is asking you, what vision do you have of your true authentic self? Because when I think of the Queen of Wands, I think of someone who is very fiery, very passionate, particularly like the wild woman, the woman who is unafraid to embody the bigness of her essence and who she really is. And then I think the Five of Wands came out with that because that's it can be very confronting, especially if you are someone who grew up and was raised as a woman. It can be very scary to confront being your true authentic self and to really truly embody that. And so like the Five of Wands for me is giving this inner conflict feeling of, I want to embody who I am, who I truly am on a soul level, and I'm scared to because it feels like death. And when I look at death, to me, it's the same thing as, you can swap out the word change for me, because it's not always regarding a physical death. And to me, a physical death is nothing more than a change. And that's not to invalidate anyone who has lost someone. And if you are grieving, 100%, it's understandable, and I'm not here to tell you to not feel sad. I'm talking about this in this specific instance, though, of, to me, death and change are a synonym 100% for me. If you don't see it that way, it's cool. That being said, when we look at embodying ourselves fully, it can feel conflicting because it feels like such a change to a degree that we can no longer be our old self, and therefore when we step into our new self, it feels like our old self can't come with us. But I really like that justice is here, because when I look at justice, I see the balance between the dark and the light, the past and the future. I see integration, not alternation. So like, you can bring the information that you had in the past, you can bring with you everything you learned. Granted, you can't bring the same patterns and be a different person. You can't bring the same behaviors and be a different person, but you can take the old information of everything that had happened, and turn that into something new, something that feels more whole, something that feels like it honors where you've been and celebrates where you're going. So now this reading is really talking about, what vision do you have for where you're going? And now I'm going to pull a card or two, ask in sorry, I'm seeing the card as I'm trying to say what I'm pulling it for. I'm pulling the card to see how we can hold that vision and move into that new vision that we have for ourselves. So the card I pulled was, I'm not going to try and lift it up again, fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites, extremes of life. So that is just what I was just talking about with the Justice card, is You don't have to deny who you were. You don't have to run away from who you were. You don't have to pretend that who you were never existed. And you can step into who you are and tell new stories to yourself and others about who you used to be. And you can hold both things at the same time. It's not bad to acknowledge our past. Nothing is bad, really, in my opinion. It's not unhelpful to acknowledge the past. What can start going down the road of being somewhat unhelpful is when we acknowledge our past or use our past as an excuse or use our past as a way to keep ourselves in the same place. Now, I understand if you want to keep yourself in the same place, if that is what you would like to do, and if that is part of your soul's path right now, that is 100% okay. And just take in the information of this reading and kind of put it in your back pocket if you want to. You don't have to do or act or even contemplate anything immediately. You're under no obligation to do so because everybody has their own path and everybody has what they came here to do, and all of that is different. And none of us should assume, especially those of us like myself who are in more healing roles or, offer guidance to other people, I should never be expecting. I should always be accepting. I should never be expecting that someone else will have the exact same path as me and view things the exact same way as me. And if I'm doing that, it's not a bad thing, but it's something that when I become aware of it is something that I personally prefer to examine and work on, because I do this because I love it and I enjoy sharing these things with people, and it shouldn't become a power struggle for me. I don't want it to become a power struggle for me, and if it is, it has more to do with the stories that my ego is holding on to rather than me actually trying to help a person or give them information to help expand their mind, right? And so that is something that if you are also doing this kind of thing where you either post readings or whatever, if it ever starts to feel like you need someone else to agree with what you're saying, perhaps gently take a look at that. And now there's a lot about surrender here. So the next piece of information, or advice rather, about how to kind of step into our vision of our future selves is take a nap, take a break. It's time to allow yourself to rest. I think part of what's coming through this reading, especially because Neptune energy is very geared towards surrender anyways, but like the slow down to speed up concept, right? You don't have to do or force things to happen. Now, that's not saying you shouldn't act when inspired action comes your way. But you don't have to force the opportunities to present themselves. You don't have to seek it out. The inspiration will come to you, okay? Like, for instance, and this is a example of inspired action that is very tangible that I did that brought something in, right? So on my website, I had my booking set up one way, and then one night I was just like, you know what? I'm going to completely change the system. I'm going to completely just do it through a completely different provider, honestly, and set it up. And then, excuse me, my voice has been all wonky today and crackling and cracking. So if you're someone who struggles with speaking up, this might be also a reading for you. That might be a sign for you, right? Anyways, continuing down, what I was saying is within hours of changing the system for how bookings worked on my website, a friend of mine just booked through and said, hey, I want to book a session like tonight. And I was like, if I hadn't have done the inspired action, you know, it wasn't something that I forced to happen, right? It was something that I felt like doing, and I did it, and something came in. Now, if I had done that action with the mindset of, oh, this is going to bring in more customers, to me, that's not necessarily inspired action, though I'm sure there are cases of where it could be, and everything is a case-by-case basis, right? But for me, when I get inspired action, it's just action that I feel like doing just because. It's never for a particular purpose. It's just, this sounds like fun to do. And so when we're doing all of these things to try to make things happen, that's when maybe it's time to just take a nap and take a break and reset. I like to think of naps as the human equivalent of, have you tried turning off and then back on again? Because you know, when someone's like, my phone isn't working or my computer isn't working, why isn't it working? The first line of advice is, have you tried turning it off and then back on again? And honestly, I look at our brains as very much like a very high-powered biological computer. Sometimes we just need to turn them off and then back on again, and we're good. So I'm going to pull a couple more cards. Oh my goodness. Pile 3, you are being asked to really surrender, because this card says, let go, let go, let go of any insistence of what should be. Yeah, and this is talking again about, like, oftentimes we will do actions because our ego, our logical brain will say, like, oh, like, this is how we do things. This is how XYZ happens because this is logical. The thing about Neptune and manifestation, if you're someone who's into manifestation, or just anything, you know, where you're really starting to harness the spiritual powers that be, is it does not have to be logical. There doesn't have to be a sequence of steps that makes sense. And oftentimes it's trying to do the things that make sense that impede our progress. And so this is asking you to kind of step outside of the boxes that you've maybe made for yourself. And instead of insisting that something should be a certain way, maybe just do what you enjoy and see what happens and see how magical it can be. But again, pile 3, this is big surrender energy. And also being authentic. Sing the songs your soul longs to share. This is talking about, you know, and that's what I was talking about having fun and letting yourself do what feels right. Like, I'm posting YouTube videos because honestly, I wanted to. Like, I didn't want to for the longest time. Everybody said, oh, you should make YouTube videos, or you should post more on social media, or, you know, whatever. And I was just, for the longest time, I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't particularly like it when people tell me what I should do. That might be because I'm autistic and don't really like being told what to do, or I've just never liked being told what to do or what I should do. But, you know, funnily enough, I've realized that I've done that to myself a lot throughout my life. And, you know, this is a call for us to be gentle with ourselves. And while what I was talking about earlier is you don't have to give up the information of your old life, you must give up your old life itself, the way that you were, the things that you did, the patterns that you engaged in, to welcome the new one. So it's like, and here going back to the brain as a computer analogy, right? You can't run 2 operating systems simultaneously at the same time on one computer. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. This is what I know of computers, and I'm using this as an analogy, right? From what I know, you can switch between them one at a time, but you can't run them both at the same time. And that is talking about, for me, belief systems and the way that we run and operate. So you must give up your old operating system, the way you used to do things, to start running your new operating system and the new way that you want to do things, or give up your old life to welcome the new one. That being said, you can obviously still have all of your old pictures and videos and everything, like those can always be there, right? Those are your memories. That's the information. That's, you know, that part of it. But when it comes to how things run, you can't run 2 different operating systems simultaneously. And again, if I'm wrong and you actually can do this on a computer, please just remember this is an analogy and that it's imperfect, and we love imperfection here, so that's fine. Now, the next thing that I want to pull is a animal spirit card that will give us some form of synchronicity and something to look forward to in the weeks and days to come, so that when we see it, we can know, like, oh yeah, this is the energy of this reading coming through, and this is reminding me to surrender, specifically in the case of this reading, and to also shine your light. So the firefly, to me, is talking about shining your light from inside. But I also find it important to note that fireflies aren't always lit up. They flash here and then they flash over here, and it's like a light bulb on a camera, right? We don't, and that goes back to the rest. Like, we don't always need to be shining bright in the world. We just need to be shining at the right place and the right time for those around us to see us. Because if you think about it, like, imagine like the corner of a house, right? So imagine someone standing here and then a firefly is coming around the corner, okay? And the person's looking at the firefly. So imagine that firefly is flashing its light all over here on the other side of the wall, and it's like constantly on, and it thinks it has to constantly be on, but then it gets burnt out by the time it passes the wall, and then the person who actually wanted to see the firefly won't be able to see it because it's not flashing its light. But imagine then the firefly is only flashing that light when it feels right. And all this time while it's on this side of the house, it's like, nah, kind of not feeling like it, definitely not feeling like it. And then it gets around the corner and it's like, oh, now it feels like a really good time to flash my light. And it flashes it. And then the person who was looking right where the firefly was, who wouldn't have seen it otherwise because it was dark, sees this bright flash of light and is like, oh my God, that's wonderful and amazing and beautiful. And so as you see, I really hope you see fireflies over the next few days and weeks, so that you can remember to shine your light, but to do so in a way that feels balanced and good for you. And let me know if you see any in the upcoming weeks. Please come back and let me know. You don't have to, but I'd really love to hear about it. And so when you see that firefly, you can remember to do that, and also to remember to surrender to the flow of what is going on at the given moment. I'm going to pull one last card here, and it's going to be these nice, sweet little messages from the cats trying to let us know, give us a feeling of kind of upliftment and something beautiful and nice to hear right now in relation to this message. So here is the card that I pulled. And it says, Sorceress, meet Venus. She softens into her plush den of blooms and starlight, the air rich with clove, nectar, and cinnamon. A warm night breeze caresses her fur. She consciously relaxes, releasing all gripping, grasping, and striving. Her endless approval and unconditional cosmic love melt away all shame. She knows that when she truly takes care of herself, when she allows herself to feel good, to feel pleasure, she can create wonders and bring healing to many. Nourish yourself completely. Experiment with what makes you feel oh so good. See your powers flourish and glow in this garden of bliss. And I really love that for talking about self-care and rest, and really taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. I am so grateful you were here. I'm so glad that you listened to this message, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye.